Coffee time. I like coffee. Good stuff. Good morning, survivors, and happy Saturday. Today's my Halloween party. I'm super psyched. So tomorrow I'll give you a little Halloween party vlog. It'll be super fun. But today we're going to talk about something different. Today we're going to talk about the truth of why a narcissist tries to get you back after they discard you, all right? Or after you discard them. Let's talk about it. So I can't tell you how often my clients are like, oh, they're never going to come back. And then a month later, 2 months later, they're getting calls and the narcissist comes back. And they don't understand. Well, they were so horrible to me. They said the worst possible things they could say to me. Why does this happen? And, you know, the answer is simple. It's because narcissists know your narcissist knows that you've been a great source of supply in the past, okay? They know that they can affect you in that way that you will become, you'll fall back into your old ways, okay? For example, I have a client right now who is an amazing woman, and she has an amazing job. She's doing incredibly well for herself. She's a freaking goddess. And I've been so proud of her in her recovery efforts. She's been doing amazing things. And just recently, she has been put in this horrible position where she works with someone who she has dated, and I don't want to go into all her personal details, but it's a very terrible thing that's happening to her in her life. And basically, she's been hoovered and dumped and hoovered and dumped. And so, you know, as soon as she starts to feel strong and excited and happy about life again, this person inevitably comes back and destroys her. And this most recent time, he came back, and within minutes of having forced her to agree to be with him, even though she didn't want to, he had already started complaining at her about herself, even though he had just been telling her how much he loved her and would change and do anything. And then within 24 hours or so, 24 to 48 hours, he had dumped her already by text, even though they hadn't really spent much time together at all. And you know, this is after this person went through this huge healing process, and she was literally done coaching. She was ready to move forward, and this person came back and tried to destroy her life again. And it's so not fair, and it's so frustrating to me when I see these amazing clients of mine who are doing so well, and then these people come back and get back in their face and get back in their life and try to ruin them again. And I really believe that part of the reason they're doing that is because they don't want to see that person too happy or whatever. But I also think that in this case, this person is very threatened by her at work because she does very well at her job, and he has the same kind of job and doesn't do quite as well as her. I think he's very threatened by her power. And so, you know, it's an important thing to think about. A lot of times we fall back into it because we feel like we didn't really get closure in the relationship, and sometimes we think, we often believe them because narcissists are incredibly good when they're hoovering. They're incredibly good at appearing to be genuine, and we believe them. I fell for it many times, and I'm sure that you have as well. And the fact that, you know, when they do their horrible thing, I mean, a lot of times this cycle of you know, love bombing and then devalue and then discard and then hoovering and then love bombing and devalue and discard, it goes on. And in some relationships it will literally go on for years, and they never even split up. They just go through that cycle. And the narcissist, I think the narcissist can't stop, because I think it's just part of who they are. I don't even know that they're conscious of it a lot of the times, and even if you explain to them what they're doing, they won't see it. And if they do see it, they'll only admit it for about 10 minutes until they get past it. Narcissists have a pathological need to control people, and you have in the past proven to be someone that was able to be controlled. So how do you resist hoovering? You don't let them control you. You stop accepting the crumbs they're willing to give you. You don't let them fool you into thinking they're going to become Mr. or Miss Perfect, because they're not. They just want to be in control of you. They don't like to see you trying to be happy, trying to have a life without them. They want to be in control. And quite honestly, a lot of times what happens is that they'll dump you for a new supply, and then the new supply, you know, might have a backbone, or might be boring, or might disagree with them about something, and then they'll come running back to you because you were a great supply before, and so maybe they need to get a little more supply. They might even come to you and try to talk about their new girl or guy, and you know, try to get you to have sympathy for them. So it's kind of interesting. Don't do it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Yeah, you were a great supply, but that doesn't mean that you have to be a supply anymore. Maybe you would like to have a person who cares about you as much as you care about them. Imagine that. Imagine how that would feel. You deserve better, my friend. No, you do. Remember, in order to prove to a narcissist that you love him or her, you literally have to surrender yourself, your whole identity and your dignity and everything else about yourself. You deserve better than that. Should I say it again? You deserve better than that. You are a unique individual and you should be allowed to shine your light in the world. And quite honestly, I think that narcissists, I've talked about this many times before, but if you've ever seen the True Blood show, okay, the HBO in the United States, I happen to know that it's in Australia and New Zealand right now because I have clients there. But if you've seen it, then you know about the fairies and the vampires. And the fairies, let me liken those to the empaths. They're full of light. They can read minds of humans and other beings that are not vampires. And but that becomes overwhelming for them sometimes. And so a lot of times they find themselves attracted to vampires because vampires, they can't hear the thoughts of. Vampires are literally dead inside. And the interesting thing is that the vampires, they can't walk in the sunlight. But the fairies, of course, are full of light. And if the vampire smells the fairy, he is instinctively driven to eat the fairy, or at least to, taste the fairy. And if he drinks the fairy, if he eats the fairy fully, if he drains the fairy of all of her blood, he can walk in the sunlight maybe forever. And if you think about this, if you think about how narcissists are, sometimes when you first meet them, you might be a bright and sunny person, and they are very attracted to you, and they come to you and they think everything's perfect and wonderful, and they love everything about you, and then by the time they're done with you, you're a used up, washed out version of yourself. But that's because they sucked you dry. And I have good news, my friend. You can get it back. You can. Okay. I was a used up, washed up version of myself before too, and quite honestly, I know I kind of look like that right now, but I clean up good. So, but my point is, being happy and being healthy in your life, it's not going to happen if you're still engaging with this person, because you're constantly going to be dealing with pushback. So if you're still with them, you still can work toward doing better for yourself. You still can work toward getting stronger and being able to make other plans for yourself. And I know that when you have kids, it's incredibly hard to walk away from someone, especially if you don't have, a job or outside the house, if you don't have your own money coming in. And I think that, I see that a lot. So I certainly don't judge anyone. But the fact is, I was just telling this to someone yesterday, narcissism doesn't know any social construct, right? It doesn't know anything. Narcissism happens in the poorest of places and the richest of places. I have clients who are doctors, who are, attorneys, who are bankers, who are, really talented singers who work at places that you've heard of that I'm not going to talk about. I have some really amazing clients. I have heiresses. I have, it's crazy. And then I have people that I talk to regularly who, are struggling to pay the bills and who can't, even afford coaching. And so they just joined my group, SPAN, which is incredibly helpful to a lot of people. If you haven't joined that yet, it's queenbeing.com/SPAN. Check it out. It's a private Facebook group that is confidential. It's free. I pop in there. I have a wonderful team of admins there. It's a good place. So check that out if you need some support. But my point is that you have to know it's not you. You have to know that if it crosses, social lines, racial lines, cultural lines, I have people in like 5 countries or 6 countries. One of them doesn't even speak English as a first language. And so this condition, this personality disorder, it is in every single it is in every single group of people. It doesn't discriminate. It all, in my opinion, all starts with childhood. And some people were neglected in ways that are terrible. Some people were just sent off to boarding school and ignored by their parents. Some people were physically beaten. Some people were just emotionally ignored or neglected, or it's a whole thing. But we've all come from something. Something has happened to each of us that made us feel not good enough, or like we needed to be people pleasers. You have to remember that the narcissist has no real identity of his or her own. The narcissist literally builds his or her identity. It's a false self, and it's built on everyone else in their lives. They sometimes will even tell other people's stories as their own. They'll tell other people's jokes, that they've heard. They'll pick up, different, idiosyncrasies of people, and they kind of throw all these things together and create this false self. But if you actually got to, and you have, I'm sure, actually gotten to know the narcissist, then they don't like to sometimes, they don't like to be called out. They don't like to, if you like, say if your narcissist was using someone else's catchphrase and their catchphrase was like, hey girl, hey, or something, then, they would come into every room, hey girl, hey, and try to, make it their own. And there's nothing wrong with picking up a catchphrase from somebody, believe me, but when you get to this place where, I don't know, I've experienced this throughout my life where people would try to do the things I was doing or say the things I was saying or whatever, and I'm sure you have too, and it's exhausting sometimes. It doesn't make me mad, makes me feel a little bit, at first it's flattering and then it becomes annoying, especially if they, in my case, people would like steal my work and stuff, and that's frustrating, like my writing and stuff. But even before that, I remember, I don't want to go into any details. I don't want to call anybody out of my own life right now. So, but sometimes, here's the thing, okay? Narcissists are never attracted to boring people. They're never attracted to ugly people, and they're never attracted to stupid people. So, hey, there's something. If you've been with a narcissist, then I promise you this: you're not stupid, you're not boring, and you're not unattractive. Okay? Maybe you feel like you're unattractive now because you've been used up and put away. But if you do, check out my Brain Sexy Backlist, because you can do that too. All right? It's right here on my channel. So anyway, I think I'm going to wrap up for today. But I think the main issue here is that narcissists want you back because they want to control you. They want you back because they don't like that maybe you'll eventually move on, or they don't want to see you happy. It's all about control. You have to remember that no matter how it looks, the narcissist is never truly happy, and they can't be. They don't know how. They are so wrapped up in their own drama and bullshit that they'll never be happy, and you can't make them happy. It's not your fault. It's their fault. They have a lot of self-growth to work on, and they never will, because, of course, they aren't able to admit or acknowledge that there's anything wrong with them. And if you're worried about how well they're going to treat a new supply, know this. When you met them, didn't they tell you that their exes might be crazy or something terrible about an ex? They cheated on them or they abused them in some way. They almost always tell you that. And then, guess what, my friend? They're going to talk about you the same way to someone. They're going to project whatever they did to you onto you. It tends to be the case. So be aware that you might be getting smear campaigned. Be aware that if they've moved on with a new supply, that as the relationship begins, it will be very much almost identical to the one that you had with them in the beginning. And as they realize that the new supply will give them supply, it will become more and more like the one you had. And I promise you, within a short time, that person will be dealing with almost identically what you were dealing with. And the thing about that is that, in my opinion, you should feel sorry for that person, not jealous of them, because you get to move on and start your life. That person has to stay there and deal with that bullshit and abuse. And so I'm not saying that I'm happy that's happening to that person. I don't want it to happen to anybody. And I'm hoping that maybe that person will see this video and they'll get out too. But for now, you have to take care of yourself. You can't worry about anybody else. You already know if you try to tell them this new supply about the narcissist that they won't believe you, because if you think about it, if you've ever been in a situation, well, think about when you were with the narcissist at first, and think about how when you tried to, if anyone would ever have come to you and said, he's crazy, he's abusive, he's this and that, you would have, or she, you would have never believed that person, and you would have in fact immediately probably told the narcissist, and they would have immediately cleared your worries by explaining that it was that other person that was crazy, and you would believe them because you were in, that love bombing phase, and you didn't see any reason to doubt them. What, Kittle? Kittle had some things to say about that. I don't want to hurt your feelings when I say this, but when the narcissist comes back, it's not because he or she is in love with you. It's because they want to control you. It's because they need your supply. It's because they don't like that you're happy without them, or it's because they're bored with another supply and they just want to use you. Okay? It's the truth. Remember one more thing before I close for today. Remember that a narcissist's primary goal is to please themselves, to uphold their false selves, and it's to keep themselves believing in their false self. And you've helped them do that for a long time, or you had helped them do that for a long time. And so they want to have you do that with them again. And that's what it all comes down to. You're better than that. Don't let them keep controlling you. Remember that you deserve to be happy, my friend. It's so important. Okay? If you can't be happy in your life, what's the purpose? You know what I'm saying? Happiness is one of our rights as human beings. And you have the right to be happy and at peace in your home, in your life. You shouldn't be scared to come home, and you shouldn't feel overwhelmed by the person you're living with every day. Okay? Have a wonderful day, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you tomorrow for another vlog, and I'll see you Monday for more. Okay? If you have questions, comments, concerns, things I can help you with, leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you later. Don't forget to visit queenbeing.com if you have more questions about narcissism, narcissistic abuse recovery, and all that stuff. And don't forget to visit just go to queenbeing.com. You can find almost everything you need there. Unless you're looking for books, then you can find those at booksangieWrote.com. And even if you want to schedule a coaching session with me, or you want to pick up my free 5-day email course, I've got those on the front page now at Queen Being too. All right? Okay, you guys, I'm outie. Have a good day. Thanks for letting me be a part of your life and a part of your recovery. As always, it means a lot to me. And thanks for being a part of mine. See you soon.